All right, Bubba, start cleaning those tires up. On green this time. Remember, they fan out down there, so protect them bottoms. Sunday drive. All right, boss man. Hey, car's off. Be ready. All right, Bub, be ready. Gas that bitch up. Ready. Green flag. Green.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Inside Pass on WSIC. I am Randy Miller, along with Tom Baker, for another Tuesday. Hang on.
We're good. Having a little volume issue in the studio here, but I think we got it. There you go. We're good.
All right, there we go. Anyway, so welcome to the show on this Tuesday morning, kind of rainy and kind of cool in Charlotte today for the first time in a long time, but I guess we'll take the cooler weather, not so much the rain, but whatever. Today on the show, we've got Adam Alexander from Fox Sports 1, or FS1 as it's also known. He is going to join us in the second segment, or the last segment of the show, the second half of our show, to talk about everything going on. There is a lot to talk about,
to say the least.
And we'll get to all of that coming up in the show. We'll also review Miami, get ready for Talladega this weekend, and talk about all of the latest news in the sport. We'll start with Miami. The races at Homestead Miami Speedway over the weekend. Tom, it was weird to see the track, to see the races at Miami in June as opposed to November where they normally are, but I think it was a great race. All four of them were actually pretty good.
See, I thought that I thought the two Xfinity races were absolute 10s, in my opinion. I think the truck race was, probably a 7 or an 8. And the Cup race, I don't know. I just wasn't. It was a good race. I wouldn't say it was great.
Yeah,
I just think. I think what it shows is that the difference in the package between the Xfinity cars and the Cup cars on the mile-and-a-half tracks is just glaring.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, obviously the drivers are trying to put on a good show, and they're all, but. It just the cup racing right now on the mile-and-a-halfs just isn't where it needs to be, and I don't know what you do different, honestly, but it is what it is. I mean, Denny Hamlin certainly had him covered in the cup race, and I mean the truck race obviously, it's a lost cause when Kyle Busch runs. Pretty much that simple.
Yes, it is. And even, well, I mean, the only thing that makes it different is the fact that Kyle actually had to work to get the win this time, as opposed to usually where he's just dominating. I mean, he had to start, a stop and go penalty at the very beginning of the race, and it took him, 15, 20 laps to get to the front, and that was all she said after that.
But he's had that the last couple of times.
It's true.
He's had issues the last few starts, and yet he still is able to win. The only one able to beat him is another Cupper, Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of one of those things. I mean, I think for me the highlight of the truck race was Tyler Ankrum, because he spent most of the race in Daytona, and then got back to Miami just in time to make a run in the last and finish second. I mean, he was so far out of it the first couple segments you wondered where he was.
Yep.
But then they what a nice recovery for that.
Yeah, there's some shout outs that we'll give in just a second. The winners of the weekend, of course, we mentioned Kyle Busch winning the truck race. No surprise there. Harrison Burton's won race 1 for the Xfinity Series on Saturday. Then Chase Briscoe turned around and won on Sunday. And, of course, Denny Hamlin and Cup. It's sad that Denny can win in Miami in June, but he can't win in Miami in November when he needs to win for a championship run.
I mean, but, right now that's where he had to run in June, right? It was Miami, so he got it done. And, only one guy wins in November. And that's the tough part of this. And, it is interesting. I think it was a different weekend because of the difference in the time frame and the calendar, but it was good to see him go back there, and I think the first Xfinity doubleheader certainly worked out the way that you would want it to. I mean, really, the whole weekend was great. We could have done without the lightning delay, but what are you going to do?
Times 3 or 4, or however many it ended up being.
It didn't. It stopped raining long before it quit lightning, which was kind of bizarre. But
Yeah. People got a crash course on that lightning calendar, the lightning clock too, that NASCAR comes up with. It basically sets for 30 minutes. So when a lightning strike happens within 8 miles of the track, 30 minutes is a timer that they set, and anytime lightning strikes during that 30 minutes, it resets itself. So it reset itself a couple of times during the course of the night. But it ended up being a long night, but beneficial for guys like Denny Hamlin, who ended up in victory lane. But some nice runs all throughout all 4 races. We mentioned Tyler Ankerman second. Who else stands out to you as in terms of great runs this weekend?
Well, I mean, are you talking about just the truck race?
For the weekend as a whole.
I mean, the weekend as a whole, gosh, I mean, I thought there were a number of people. The Xfinity racing stood out to me more so than anything else over the weekend. And I think, you've established kind of a different big three now.
Yeah.
In the Xfinity series. I mean, Noah Gragson won 2 races. He just didn't get the trophy in either one.
Right, exactly.
And Austin Cindric, certainly, Ross Chastain. There were a number of drivers. Anthony Alfredo, my gosh, he had a 4th place on Saturday and came back. I think he finished 11th
on Sunday.
Yep. Colby Howard with a pair of top 20s for that rookie in the JD Motorsports car. There were a number of drivers. Brandon Brown had a great run. I mean, I know I'm leaving out 4 or 5. Allgaier had a great comeback. I just think right now the racing in the Xfinity series by far is the best of the 3 national series. And I can't believe I'm saying that because it's always been the trucks for me. But right now the Xfinity series is just putting on fantastic shows.
Yeah, the Xfinity guys are on fire right now. I wrote down some notable drivers that finished in good positions. Ty Majeski finished 10th in the truck race on Saturday. Yep. Myatt Snyder finished 7th yet on Sunday's race in the 93 car, which is normally the Ryan C car, but he's got a full season sponsorship now, a full season with that team. So in addition to the races he's got with RCR,
it's a split.
But he will be running the entire season now, so that's good news for him. Michael Annett finished 6th also in Sunday in the Xfinity race. Eric Almirola 5th in the NASCAR race. Christopher Bell with another top 10. He finished 8th, and how about Tyler Reddick in 4th? That team, that car was absolutely just flying around that track. I feel like he could have been a contender if the race would have been a little longer, but man, they're just great for him being a rookie in the Cup Series. So.
Really good. I've said since we came back from COVID that RCR has stepped it up a notch.
Sure.
Dillon had a top 10. Austin Dillon.
He needs that after the baby now.
Yeah. That was a little bit of inspiration, but you see Tyler Reddick and he's really, that 8 team is dialed in. Yeah. And, you gotta throw Bubba in there because he didn't have a great, really a great weekend at Miami per se, but overall that car has been faster. And of course that's a tie-in to RCR and even Ty Dillon, although he probably hasn't stood out as much as any of those other 3, you can see his performance is ticking up a notch too. So RCR slowly, I think, is starting to kind of get back to winning form. And I do believe there's a good chance you see Tyler Reddick win a race before the season's out.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Christopher Bell, too, for that matter. We are going to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll have more NASCAR racing. The All-Star race is being moved. We'll talk about that when we come back right here on the Inside Pass. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is News Talk, 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Davidson turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
Listen up, Carolinas. During the Drive Forward event going on now, there's only one Jeep dealer in the Carolinas that has the largest new Jeep inventory. Lake Norman Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We are the only Jeep dealer in the Carolinas that guarantees we will beat any new Jeep deal. It's time to drive forward right now at Lake Norman Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Located at I-77 at exit 28. Online 24/7 at LakeNormanChrysler.com.
For WSIC, I'm Fox 46 meteorologist Nick Koser. Showers will stick around overnight as that low drops down to about 57. Tomorrow, 71 with another 60% chance for showers, and chances for rain decrease on Thursday down to 40%. Temps increase to 79, and we'll see partly sunny skies. From the Neighborhood Stormwatch Forecast Center, I'm meteorologist Nick Koser. Be sure to catch Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane today on Fox 46 News at 5.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. Publishers Clearinghouse is ready to award $5,000 a week for life in just days. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. Don't miss this last chance to win $5,000 a week for life on June 30th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter now at PCH.com. Entries due 6/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
When you're stressed, you just don't feel like yourself. New Natrol Relaxia, a full line of drug-free supplements to help you manage occasional stress and anxiety. A special blend of herbals keeps you feeling calm and balanced throughout the day. Because when there's less stress, there's more you. Try new Natrol Relaxia. Learn more at relaxiamood.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hey, this is Tracy Austin from the Mental Fitness Matters Show. Join me and Joe Del Monte, financial consultant of Parkside Wealth, for a 5-part Money and Mindset series beginning Thursday, June 18th through July 9th, as we discuss how to remove the thought patterns keeping you stuck as it relates to finances and getting you on a path of mental and financial freedom. Join us for a needed and necessary discussion on your money and mindset and how it all matters. Thursday morning, 8:30, right here on News Talk 105.9, 100.7, WSIC.
Hey, this is Kyle with WSIC. Tune in Wednesdays at 8 a.m. for Houston Solutions with me, Kyle Houston. Don't just complain about the problems in your community. Join us and be part of the solution. Houston Solutions on WSIC at 8 a.m.
I'm Chase Elliott, and you're listening to the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass here on WSIC. Randy Miller, Tom Baker here with you. I have been told that the feed is working on the Race Chaser Online website. So racechaseronline.com, Race Chaser Radio, Race Chaser TV, Race Chaser, anything you want to put in there.
No.
No.
RaceChaserMedia.com, RaceChaserOnline.com, or RaceChaserRadio.com will work. Just go to our Race Chaser site and you can get it there. WSICFM.com, of course, has the feed as well, and all of the local radio stations from WSIC here, and you can watch the live stream if you like on Facebook at either Race Chaser Media or WSIC.
We are everywhere, and you can't get rid of us. So welcome back to the show. We're going to talk about the Confederate flag being banned. We're going to talk about the All-Star race. You can give us a call if you want to talk to us about what's going on in the world of NASCAR racing. 704-873-1400. Give us a call and tell us your thoughts on NASCAR moving the All-Star race to Bristol. We'll talk about that in just a second. I want to give a shout-out. I don't know why I'm doing this because he doesn't need the ego boost. But whatever, Nick DeGroot is going to be on the show next week. He's one of our good friends. I love him to death. But he texted me last night. It was like 11:30 or so last night. He was disappointed because he picked Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin to win races the last week, but they won the opposite races. So he picked Truex for Miami and Denny for Martinsville, but they won the opposite races. So he was a little disappointed. He gets his regular points, but he's now.
He didn't get a win, is what I'm saying.
Correct, and now I am ahead of him by like 20 points in the fantasy standings. We will update the standings for you on Thursday's show. But I said, you know what? This is the first time you haven't won something all year long. Shut up. Like, literally, shut up. So this morning, he sends me another text message. Well, actually, he sent me kind of like a screenshot of a tweet that he had sent out. He does iRacing. For those of you who know about Nick DeGroot's iRacing career, he won the Indy 500, the Elite Racing League Indy 500 a couple of weeks ago. So now he thinks he's an Indy 500 star. But in any event, he ran last night. They do Monday night racing through Parker Kligerman has a bounty on his head from Kicking the Tires. Who has their own, iRacing league or whatever. They run Monday nights. Parker Kligerman is part of that group. He's won the last 4 races in a row. Yeah. So he put his own bounty on his head, and then Big Green Egg, who sponsored the race, stepped up and said, we'll give you a grill if you win or whatever. So anyway, a lot of stars win this race last night. Parker Kligerman entered in it. Kyle Busch was in it. Connor Daly was in it. Ricky Taylor was in it. Well, guess who won the race?
Nick DeGroot.
Nick DeGroot. He beat Kyle Busch by 0.009 seconds.
Wow.
In a photo finish. So now he's got him a new grill, and he's got a bunch of other prize packages, and he won the bounty from Parker Kligerman. So, yeah.
It's amazing how our Race Chaser guests and group, how many races we've won lately. I mean, we had Ryan Millington on the show 2 weeks ago on Monday. Mm-hmm. He won the Cars A Speedway race. We had who else did we have? We had Nick Loden on the show, and then Nick turned around and went and won the Carolina Pro Series Pro Late Model Series race. And so last night we had from Venturini Motorsports, Corey Heim, who won the Cars race the other day at Hickory. We had him on, and we also had Carson Quapple on, Travis's oldest boy, who won the opening Carolina Pro Series late model race. So I told them both, no pressure. And so even DeGroot now, when he comes on our show, goes and wins races.
Yeah.
They're virtual ones, but he wins them.
Yeah, his stock is going up, which means the price of getting him on the show now is going to be
because our guests go win races.
So anyway, Nick will be on next week, so we'll get to aggravate him about winning. But congratulations, Nick! In all seriousness, great job
than I
there.
could do.
So the All-Star race is moving from Bristol to Charlotte, or from Charlotte to Bristol. I mean, because of a lot of for those of you who obviously everybody listening or probably watching right now is from the Charlotte area, so you guys know the COVID-19 cases in this greater Lake Norman area is completely ridiculous. And that's to be completely, honest, but at the same time, not wanting to get into politics. So NASCAR decided to move the All-Star race from Charlotte to Bristol, number one, because of the number of cases it's going up in this area, but number two, because we obviously know that if the All-Star race was in Charlotte, we wouldn't have fans. And NASCAR really wants that to be a crown jewel moment for fans to return. So obviously they want to go to a track where fans are welcome. So Bristol has a plan in place, and actually tickets, I think, went on sale yesterday.
Yeah.
For you to be able to purchase tickets to go to Bristol, they're looking at 30,000 people packing into that Coliseum for the All-Star race in July, give or take a few thousand, depending upon, social distancing and that kind of stuff. But anybody who has been a fan of NASCAR for several years knows that, most NASCAR fans have been clamoring for a different venue for the All-Star race because we felt like Charlotte is getting to a point where it's just not as fun as it used to be because it's not really about the million anymore. It's just more about, getting track time for the 600. Moving it to a short track like Bristol is going to make it a whole nother different ballgame, Tom, and I think a lot of the hardcore NASCAR fans are excited about this try that's the term we're using now. It's just, let's just try, see what happens.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. I mean, back when we started the All-Star race in the 90s, the racing was much different on the intermediate tracks, right? We had a completely different car. It was a completely different situation, completely different time. And the racing was fantastic, and having it in NASCAR's home, territory, basically, right in the heart of NASCAR country, made perfect sense. And Humpy Wheeler would come up with some amazing promotion every year because that's what Humpy did, right? He was, that's why he was the legend. But in recent years, I feel like the race has kind of, first of all, the racing had been great. And second of all, I feel like it's kind of lost its luster a little bit. There are a lot of people who thought taking it to a short track like Bristol, which is still in the SMI family of tracks, by the way, would put the racing aspect back in it. If it's an all-star race and you're not counting points, let's go to Bristol. Let's throw $1 million for the winner. And I wish that I had, if I ever won Powerball, I said last night on Lead Lap, the first thing I'd do is go to NASCAR and say, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I want to put up $50,000 a lap to lead every lap of this race so that drivers have zero incentive to sandbag or save their stuff. I want people racing. Let's make it 100 laps and no pit stops, no nothing. Start, run, and end it. And I want a throwdown. I want people driving their butts off for 100 laps because that's what this should be.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do with the format now that it's going to Bristol. But as much as I've always been an advocate for keeping it in NASCAR's home, this is the perfect. Obviously, if you can have fans, and 30,000 is not by any means a full grandstand at Bristol.
A lot more than we've had.
But it's a lot more than we've had. And so it makes perfect sense from that standpoint to move it. But also, it's an opportunity to see what the drivers do with this.
Right.
Do you go because again, this is supposed to be a shootout, so let's go and let's make it. If we're going to take it to Bristol, I want to see some Bristol racing. I don't want to see guys sitting in 15th waiting for the last 10 laps. I want enough incentive for drivers to feel like they got to run hard the whole race and let's have a good time. And, I just think it's a completely different race in a half mile than it is at Charlotte. So we'll see, we'll see how it turns out. But I love it. And the irony is NASCAR gets all the fans. People are saying this is the first good thing NASCAR's done in 20 years. And then about an hour and a half later, they come out with a new design and move the number from the door to behind the door. So it gives more sponsor exposure on the door. And everybody's like, oh, man, those cars are ugly. What are you doing, NASCAR? It's like they were on top of everybody's list for about 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden right back down again.
The excitement level looks like a COVID-19 data chart because it goes up really high and then really back down.
It falls off the cliff.
Falls off the cliff.
I actually like the way that they redesigned it. I wish they'd keep it.
Yeah, I think it looks cool too. I posted a picture of it on the social media page for Inside Pass earlier this morning. If you guys want to check it out, there's actually a unique, kind of funny story behind that picture, and I'll talk about it in a minute. But when they announced that Bristol was going to host the All-Star race, my first thought was Bristol's always been known as like this really cool Coliseum type thing. The driver introductions that they do for the race weekends at Bristol are absolutely phenomenal. Like the drivers get to choose their own theme songs and stuff like that. I want that. Like if you're going to do it, if you're going to do the All-Star race, that's one of the cool things about the All-Star race at Charlotte is the driver introductions and all the cool fireworks and lights and the cool things that they do. I want them to implement the Bristol way of doing it when they do the driver introductions, which I'm sure that they will because I think that would be cool. But Bristol does a really unique rendition of the driver introductions, and I want that to be what they use for the All-Star race because I think that would be really cool.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I mean, let's get the Charlie Daniels Band to, be the pre-race show because that's, Charlie is Tennessee,
right?
Right? From Mount Juliet. So let's get Charlie Daniels to do the pre-race show. We'll get him to do Rocky Top, and let's just make this, let's make it a concert. Let's make it a show. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Let's do all the pomp and circumstance and just make it a fun Wednesday night. And again, I think that's the other aspect of this. We now have the All-Star race at Bristol on a Wednesday night in prime time.
Right. You can't ask for anything better than that. So then they turned around, and after the All-Star race, they head to Texas Motor Speedway, which is another track where they're looking at, upwards of 50,000 fans. I mean, Texas is pretty wide open in terms of, being able to allow people to get into big venues and stuff like that. So 2 races in a row potentially where we can actually see a lot of fans in attendance. I felt like we had 1,000 fans in attendance for the Homestead race, and it didn't really you could tell, but it really didn't seem that way because they were so far spread out that you couldn't really hear anything. This weekend at Talladega, there'll be 5,000 fans in attendance. So I know for those of you who have tickets to the All-Star race at Charlotte and we're planning on going, you can actually call the Charlotte ticket office to either get a refund or if you want to go to Bristol for the All-Star race, you can actually change your ticket over to a Bristol ticket and then head up there for the Bristol All-Star race and enjoy yourselves in the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah. So should be fun. Should be, I'm excited that they did it. I think this is the right situation for this time. And again, like you said, it's an opportunity to try it. Oh. Maybe it works out so well. Maybe we keep it there. Yeah. I mean, I got no problem with that. It's 3 hours away. And I love the short track atmosphere anyways for it. I think it would be a lot of fun.
For sure. We are going to take a commercial break. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about the new experiment NASCAR is doing with the numbers for the All-Star race. We'll have more on that when we come back on the Inside Pass, and Adam Alexander is still coming up too. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Huntersville turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
Headlines for Davidson and the region. Here's WSIC News. You've tuned in to hear local news, and so have a lot of other people. Your business could be advertising right here. Find out how affordable it can be. Call 704-872-6345, 704-872-6345.
Hey everyone, this is Margaret Beveridge with your latest news. The Concord City Council adopted the recommended fiscal year 2020-2021 $269 million budget during last Thursday's council meeting. The budget, adopted June 11th, is a 4% increase from the previously adopted 2019-2020 fiscal year budget. Despite this increase, the budget was created conservatively according to the budget proposal due to the economic constraints of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Concord City Council also approved the annexation of 5 lots along or near Roberta Road during last Thursday's meeting. The lots, about 3.325 acres in total, are located on Roberta Road. Marlboro Drive Southwest, and Shadow Crush Drive Southwest. The properties are owned by Journey Capital, LLC. The annexation petition was put forward by Michael McManus of Press Pro Custom Homes. Thanks for tuning in to WSIC. I'm Margaret Beveridge from the News Desk.
This report is brought to you by Sawyer Insurance and Financial Services. It's a new year and a great time to reevaluate your insurance and portfolios. A second opinion is always a good idea. Give Sawyer Insurance a call at 704-664-4838.
For WSIC, I'm Fox 46 meteorologist Nick Koser. Showers will stick around overnight as that low drops down to about 57. Tomorrow, 71 with another 60% chance for showers, and chances for rain decrease on Thursday down to 40%. Temps increase to 79, and we'll see partly sunny skies. From the Neighborhood Stormwatch Forecast Center, I'm meteorologist Nick Koser. Be sure to catch Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane today on Fox 46 News at 5.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Sorry, Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent in Mooresville is Sawyer Insurance. Get a quote at 704-664-4838.
Erie Insurance.
Hey, it's Margaret Beveridge. Tune in every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. for The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty as I talk with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell and Captain Bill Hamby about topics that impact you, from crime to how specialized units help keep your community safe. That's 8:30 every Wednesday morning.
This is Justin Lofton, and you're listening to the best guys on the radio, the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass on WSIC. Randy Miller, Tom Baker here with you, talking NASCAR racing. We have Adam Alexander from FS1 coming up here in just a little bit. Lots to talk to him about. We've only got like 10 minutes to talk to him, so we're going to have to work fast to get through that. But great to have him on the show. July is shaping up to be a great month for the show as well. We last week we mentioned Jade Gers will be on the show July 21st. He is the writer of the autobiography of John Andretti's life called The Racer. So we're going to spend the hour talking to him about the book. And the week before that, July 14th, speaking of the Xfinity Series, Noah Gragson will be on our program to talk about
excited about that.
Leading the championship standings right now and missing out on $200,000 now.
Man, can you imagine if he'd won both of those races?
Well, what's kind of frustrating, I guess, for him is the fact that the race on Sunday he was eligible for it, and the guy that won it, AJ Allmendinger, wasn't even supposed to be in the race in the first place. But Chris Rice and the guys at Colleague Racing put him a car together to have him go out and try to win it, and my God, he did. So
it's just crazy the season that Noah's had. And again, if you give him those two wins. He's clearly dominant.
Yeah,
like
he'd have 4 wins on the season, I believe now. So.
I feel like Noah is clearly the dominant car most weeks, and it isn't even his fault that he hasn't. I mean, those two deals over the weekend were just late race cautions and restarts where you're just kind of a sitting duck.
Right, exactly.
If you're leading, and so that was. I feel like that had to be really tough for him to lose both of those races that way. And yet he seemed, he did a great job post-race both days of kind of, keeping himself level. And he's maturing a lot. He's really starting to look like a driver to me that wants to ride in the 48 car when Jimmy Johnson goes into retirement at the end of this year. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, I would find it hard to believe that Kendrick would go anywhere else, frankly.
It'd be hard to overlook him, especially with the season he's having already this year. So we talked about NASCAR and the All-Star race moving from Charlotte to Bristol. And one of the other things that they're doing this year to kind of experiment with something new that they might be trying is moving, as Tom mentioned, the number that's on the side of the car that's normally under the driver's door is being moved backward, back to behind the door, between the edge of the door and the wheel well of the car, to allow more space on the side of the car for sponsorship branding or whatever. And so obviously, NASCAR fans love to, poke the bear and say, I love it, I hate it, I'm not watching NASCAR ever again, this is ridiculous. But I guess it depends on your kind of mindset. Tom and I come from a business mindset. Obviously, for us, I feel like that, it's an opportunity for a business to have a bigger logo on the side of the car, which is more branding opportunity and more TV time. more money in your pocket on your RTI. But I mean, that's just me. I don't really care what the number is as long as I can see the number. And I really know if you're a diehard fan, you know most of the car numbers anyway. So it doesn't really matter if the numbers on the car to me or not. But that's just me.
Well, I looked at it and it was the first rendition had the number on the quarter panel.
Yes.
And then what turned out to be the final version of it had the number behind the door, but still in front of the left rear wheel, the rear wheels, both sides. And for me, I mean, somebody said on Twitter last night, this is ridiculous. Everybody identifies, they look for the number in order to identify the car. Well, the number didn't leave. It's still there. We just
the one on the
moved it
roof
back
is still the same size.
Yeah. We just moved it back a little. I think it was funny. Like I said, that's why I said in the last segment, it's funny because NASCAR announces that the All-Star race is going to Bristol and everybody just cheers and explodes and stands on their head and, yay, NASCAR, and then 20 minutes later, this comes out and, they're all bashing it. It's, to me, it's the All-Star race, so it's something different. Right. Nobody's saying it's going to be permanent. In fact, I don't believe that that's where anybody's going with it, but I will tell you that I've seen late models. I've seen, different kinds of cars with numbers in different positions. And like you said, as long as the number's there, the more real estate we can get for sponsors right now, the better. And by having the number where it is, it gives space on the door for the sponsor and keeps the quarter panels open for the for another sponsor. So it actually adds a sponsor position without taking one away.
That's right.
And so, again, I think the graphic designers will make these cars look really, really nice for the All-Star race.
Yeah. So if you guys noticed the picture that I posted, it was the NASCAR prototype picture that NASCAR sent out. But it's kind of funny because it was pointed out last night on Twitter that if you look at the picture really closely, if you look at the number on the roof of the car, it has Cole Trickle's name on it. And so somebody pointed out, hey, all of this uproar that's going on about this number, you guys didn't even think to notice that Cole Trickle's making a comeback to NASCAR because his name's on the side of the car. And not only that, but he's also so fast that he has branding sponsorship from all three manufacturers because Ford, Toyota, and Chevrolet all have their logos on the car. So it was kind of like a joke to play off the fact that they posted this and nobody even looked at the picture. They just looked at the one image of the numbers and went, yeah, I don't care. I don't want to watch NASCAR ever again. I'm done. So, it's like,
yeah,
I know. So we go from that to the other thing that got NASCAR fans all up in a roar was because they banned the Confederate flag, and it happened, I guess, like a week and a half ago, but I didn't really want to. I was trying to figure out how to talk about this without making it seem like we're picking sides here. But again, going back to the business thing, I have business degrees, in business. Tom does as well. So I never look at things from a fan perspective. I look at things from a business perspective. And when I see people on social media just automatically saying, I'm done. I'm not going to watch NASCAR ever again. It was the same controversy that happened with, I guess, the Axis helmets. They had posted something
on
Axis.
It wasn't
Axis. It was
different company.
I can't think of what the name of the company is, but anyway, they posted something on social media, and so a lot of the drivers pulled their support for the brand or whatever, saying, I don't want to have anything to do with this brand. And people were burning merchandise from those drivers saying, well, how can you mix politics with NASCAR? It's just ridiculous. So it's just, for me, I don't look at it as them, singling out Southerners or singling out trying to erase history. It's a matter of business. We all know that NASCAR is driven by business and driven by sponsorship and driven by money. And if you put NASCAR in a position to where they have to decide what's more important, a fan base to a certain extent, or to gain, the valuable assets of having sponsorships coming on board, I think they're going to choose business every single time because that's what makes the sport be financially stable. And if you're talking about doing something where if you don't do this, you're going to lose sponsorships, or you're going to lose sponsors saying, look, I can't be associated with you if this is how you stand on this issue, then you have to do what's right for business, not necessarily for what, a few hundred fans or a few thousand fans think about the sport.
Well, okay, now I'll play gentle devil's advocate here just so we get both sides out. Because I look at this, and first of all, this is what I talked about on one of our shows last week about NASCAR. When you go down the road toward now being political activists, and that you can't escape that. The NASCAR, when you choose to follow a cause, okay, and they took it a step further. Not only did we do the Black Lives Matter thing, and we let people kneel for the anthem, which personally I don't. It's whatever people want to do. I don't. I've had 3 or 4 of my friends who have served in the military say that they don't object to that.
Right.
That's not. They don't take offense to that.
Mm-hmm.
So fine. It whatever. If you can kneel and pray, then you should be able to kneel in the cause of justice. Okay, I'm okay with that. Banning the Confederate flag because Bubba Wallace said they should, okay, that puts you into a real slippery slope here. Somebody wrote something on the internet this morning that said, well, Bubba is part of the Coca-Cola family of drivers. And I'm not sure that's actually true, but he does drink Coke so maybe he is. I haven't researched it.
He's an illegitimate child for the Coca-Cola family.
Well, the Coca-Cola, the developer of Coca-Cola was a Confederate soldier. So do we ban Coca-Cola now? Because we banned the Confederate flag. Like, how far do we carry this? And I think you just open yourself up. I get the business side of it, but there's a business other side too, right? So in this area of the country, the Confederate flag means something completely different than it does. And so I think I'm not, again, I don't even, the fact that they banned the flag, for me personally, it doesn't affect me. So, but here's the big picture of that. We're tearing down statues. We're banning flags. It's all symbolism. Mm-hmm. If we're really interested in changing behaviors, it starts here in the heart.
Yep.
Okay, you can tear down all the symbols, all the flags. You can pretend that history didn't happen, but it did. And when we were in school, we were taught to learn from history and not to repeat it. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the policies that we see in government across this country have been the same policies for decades, and this is why we haven't changed what's in here, because it every action has a reaction. So where does all this stop? So I think we need to be careful about saying, well, but it's for business reasons. Because, again, there's businesses on both sides of this.
It's true.
I don't object to it in so far as it is what it is, because I don't go to a NASCAR race worrying about, a flag or worrying about, but I've heard people say that the American flag should be banned.
Yeah, that's
where do we go with that?
That's too much.
But again,
I mean, you're right though. You're absolutely right about that.
It's a slippery slope.
That is true. All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, Adam Alexander from FS1 will join us. We will have him on the Strutmasters.com hotline right when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back. More of the Inside Pass on WSIC.
This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Mooresville turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
JSCM Group is Lake Norman's cybersecurity expert. With 2 decades of experience, we work hard to ensure your network is as protected as possible. We simplify the complicated and ever-changing world of cybersecurity, regardless of your organization's size. To start protecting yourself, your employees, and your clients, call Adam Slater with JSCM Group at 704-464-3404. We simplify, we're experts, and we're right here. Again, that's JSCM Group at 704-464-3404.
For WSIC, I'm Fox 46 meteorologist Nick Koser. Showers will stick around overnight as that low drops down to about 57. Tomorrow, 71 with another 60% chance for showers, and chances for rain decrease on Thursday down to 40%. Temps increase to 79, and we'll see partly sunny skies. From the Neighborhood Stormwatch Forecast Center, I'm meteorologist Nick Koser. Be sure to catch Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane today on Fox 46 News at 5.
Thanks for tuning in for local news with WSIC. I'm Margaret Beveridge. A man survived a shooting Friday on Admiral Drive in Salisbury after an unknown suspect shot him while he was taking out the trash. The victim, Sharif Bell, was approached by a hooded man who shot him. The type of weapon used is unknown, and Bell's wounds were superficial. This incident is one of many shootings that have already occurred locally this month. A shooting on Green Street in Salisbury killed one and injured 2 others. There was also a shooting on Lloyd Street, a shooting at a Days Inn that resulted in an injury, 3 other incidents over this weekend, and 8 shootings in 2 days in Kannapolis just a week ago. Governor Cooper said on Monday that the state is considering making masks mandatory. As state coronavirus cases continue to rise at a steady pace, Cooper says mandatory cloth face masks could be implemented to slow the spread, and they are continuing to review the science and data. For more, visit fox46.com. Thanks for tuning in to WSIC. I'm Margaret Beveridge from the news desk.
Are you having electrical problems and don't know where to turn? Call the professionals at Harkey Electric, specializing in residential, generator, and contract work. Get your free quote today at 704-872-4640 or check them out online at harkeyelectric.com. Action Jackson services commercial and residential cleaning in Iredell and surrounding counties. Rental properties, move in and move out. Call today for a free estimate of your cleaning needs. Big or small, we clean them all. 704-928-6818.
Action Jackson. This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Davidson turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
Hello, race fans. This is Chris Wright. Thanks for listening to these guys. Man, what some great radio hosts. You're listening to the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass on WSIC. Randy Miller, Tom Baker here with you on this Tuesday, and we are going to go to the strutmasters.com hotline and bring on one of the best announcers in all of NASCAR. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the phone. The strutmasters.com hotline, we welcome from NASCAR's coverage on Fox and FS1, Adam Alexander joins us on the Inside Pass. Adam, good morning, and thank you for taking a few minutes out of your time this morning to join us.
Absolutely. Good morning, guys. It's great to be on with you.
No problem. So, obviously, NASCAR, we're 4 weeks into what am I trying to say? The relaunch. There you go.
Yes.
The relaunch of the
reboot.
Reboot. There you go. That's
Reboot.
what I was trying to say.
My computer career sponsors this show. We rebooted NASCAR.
And the host already needs one. The reboot of the NASCAR season. What are your thoughts on the season? Tom and I are huge supporters of this new relaunch and how everything just seems like it's just going so smoothly. The races are amazing. Everything is exciting. What is your take from somebody who calls the races on a weekly basis? What is your take on what we've seen so far?
I'd have to agree with you guys. I think that what we have seen on track has been fun to watch, entertaining, compelling storylines. And I think a big portion of that is the fact that we're not doing practice, we're not doing qualifying, and you create those unknowns for these teams, probably bring some drivers into the equation that typically wouldn't be there because they hit the setup from the beginning. You take some guys that if you had 2-3 hours of practice would get that car dialed in with all of the information that those big teams have. You pull that away from them, and it compromises the advantage that they have on race day. And you put all that together, and I think the pool of drivers to pull from as far as favorites week to week is a little bigger. And as we talked about, the competition has just been enhanced. So I think overall what we've seen in the last month is really, really been incredible.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe, Adam, honestly, that, just changing the format can change the dynamic of a race. But we've seen that for sure. I want to take this in a slightly different direction because Randy and I have both been race announcers at local tracks and first series and things like that. And I've done some live race calls on TV and some radio, lots of radio live race calls. I would love to hear you talk about what it's like to work in the booth at the NASCAR level, especially with some of the personalities that you get to be alongside at these races, because we just have a blast watching you and listening to sort of the interplay between you and the drivers and the others on the Fox staff.
Well, I have to admit, going back to 2015, I guess it was, when we were discussing, putting guest drivers, guest analysts in the booth every week, and pulling guys from the Cup garage that had never been in a TV booth, I wasn't sure about that idea. I was pretty nervous, actually, because, so much of being successful as a broadcaster is being comfortable.
Yeah.
And to be in that, play-by-play position and be working with at least one guy, and in some cases two new guys each and every week, can be challenging, and that concerned me. And I think now, as I look back over the last 5 or 6 years and how we've been able to execute that plan and the ability for our production staff to give the support needed to those drivers that come to the booth, I think it has been such a good thing, not only, from where I sit, but I think the broadcast itself feels the impact of the knowledge those guys bring. And the real winner is the fan at home, because you get to see your favorite driver not only on track, but in the TV booth talking about a race. And so I think across the board, this has been something that's worked out really well. And all those concerns that I had a number of years ago really have changed into just a high level of excitement and a high level of anticipation as to who I'm going to work with on a given week and what they're going to bring to the broadcast.
I sort of feel like it's that same sense of unknown and unpredictability that you just talked about with the drivers going into a race with no practice or qualifying. Your cast, at least part of it rotates about every race, and the combinations of different drivers and such that you have in the booth with you. And I think I have to believe that, given the situation of not everybody being able to be at the track in the same booth in the same, kind of situation, all of that really has I would think makes your job new and fresh every weekend. It's never the same twice.
It does 100%, and I think it's made me become a better broadcaster, because the one goal we all have when you're commentating events is you want to send off the message that you're sitting at home in the living room with the people that are watching, as if you're on the couch with them just talking about what's on television. And I think when you work with the same people over and over, that can be somewhat difficult, because you get into broadcast mode, right? You get into TV mode.
That's true.
And when you are continually bringing up guests, it becomes less of a broadcast and more of a conversation, and probably easier to convey that feel of, we're just all watching this race together. And that's always been my goal, sometimes easier to execute than others. But I go back to a couple of weeks ago at Bristol, doing that race with Kurt and Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah.
It very much had the feel of, we're hanging out at the family reunion watching a race at Bristol, and two guys that have had so much success there, but yet the race wasn't, the broadcast wasn't as much about the ins and outs of the race as it was just three guys talking racing and hanging out together. And I think that's the mindset and the feel that you want to create every time you go and do an event.
And Kyle and Kurt throwing a little jab now and then back and forth. Randy didn't hurt either.
yeah, that's very true. So I know you guys have been going to the Fox studios and kind of doing everything remotely for the last several weeks. Is there any indication when you guys are going to actually be able to go to the racetrack and do the show live back in your home location and being actually there at the track during the race as opposed to being at the studio?
The way it stands right now, I would be surprised if we get back to the track in our portion of the schedule. If you go back and look at the original schedule in 2020, our last race was supposed to be a couple of days ago in Sonoma on Sunday. That would have been the cutoff point for Fox's coverage. As we all know, there's been a number of postponements, and so our coverage will now extend into mid-July. In fact, our final event on Fox or S1 for Cup will be the All-Star race that was announced at Bristol on July 15th. I just don't see, with everything that's going on in the world, the time and effort that's been put into setting us up in the studio and the few races we have remaining, I don't anticipate that we'll be back at the racetrack. We obviously won't be this weekend at Talladega. We know that. Given the circumstances in Pennsylvania, I don't think we're going to, multiply the number of people that we are sending to the track by 3, which is what it would take over what we have now. I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze based on what we've experienced so far with this new setup and the limited number of races we have left. So I think maybe NBC gets that opportunity. I just don't think it'll happen for us.
Yeah, for sure. So we talk about 2020 being kind of a toss-up year. We kind of know where we're going now, leading up to maybe Watkins Glen or kind of starting to get close to the chase. But they're already talking about 2021. We already mentioned Nashville Super Speedway being added to the schedule. There's rumors about Road Atlanta or Road America being added to the schedule. Is there a track that you wish that NASCAR would go to in 2021 that you would like to see added to the schedule?
Well, there's one out there that's been discussed quite frequently, and it's Iowa. I think that's a great little short track, and that part of the country gets forgotten a little bit when it comes to professional sports, just because, Iowa, Nebraska, out through there just aren't many professional sports franchises, and so NASCAR is one that I think could go there and have great success. And, that Des Moines, Iowa is to me one of the great unsung cities in our country, and to be able to go there and race and bring cup racing to that part of the country, I think would be really, really cool, and I think it would make for a great race. So that's something that I would like to see, but it's going to be so difficult to reconfigure this schedule. The one hope that I have is that seeing no practice and no qualifying and what that's done to enhance the product, maybe we start to see a different setup on race weekends that then eventually down the road, this isn't going to happen next year, but I think eventually down the road, we could start packing more events into the schedule because you could do more doubleheaders and midweek racing and some of the things we're seeing out of necessity because of the pandemic. Maybe that opens the door to go to some of these tracks in the future that we can't currently put on the schedule.
That's very true. Speaking of no practice and no qualifying, Talladega this weekend, NASCAR made the decision to cut off the practice session and just have them go for broke at Talladega. What are we looking forward to this weekend at Talladega? It's going to be one of those crazy races where it's always a wild finish and always a wild race, but with no practice and no qualifying, makes things even more interesting. What are we looking for this weekend?
Well, I was just on a conference call with some of our guys, and the driver contingent on there. Everyone believes that no practice, no qualifying is not going to have a major impact on the race. And in fact, most of the drivers said, I never liked the practice at Daytona or Talladega anyway, and they felt like that it wouldn't take many laps to get acclimated into the draft and then settle in. And it would just be a normal race and what you would expect from a Daytona or Talladega. So I didn't get the feeling, and a little bit surprised that that no practice would create some concerns for these drivers. I just thought maybe at a place like this in the high level of intensity, you would want to go out and have a few laps under your belt before you actually race. But that's not the case, and so I think we'll see a very similar race to what we've seen in the past. You talked about it, the unpredictability is what makes Talladega great. And the one element that likely will be different this weekend, and I'm excited to see what it could bring to the table, and that is we're going there in June. It's going to be hot. That track's going to be a little slicker. I got to believe the cars, because of that, are going to be a little less stable, and I think that will add an element maybe that we haven't seen in recent years at Talladega.
Yep. All right, Adam, we're going to let you go, but thank you guys for all that you do over at Fox and FS1, and best of luck to the rest of you guys' tenure this year, and hopefully 2021 provides a much better and much more organized year for all of us in the motorsports world.
No doubt about it. Thank you guys for having me on, and have a great week.
Yeah, you too. Adam Alexander, everybody from FS1 on our StripMasters.com hotline. All right, we got to get out of here, but our thanks to Adam Alexander for joining us this week, and we have Nick DeGroot on next week, unless I change my mind in the next 6 days. Talladega is going to be a crazy race, a wild race as always, Tom. But it's Talladega, and we've always come to expect the unexpected when we go there.
Yep. Don't forget the ARCA portion too. That should be a lot of fun. They aren't going to get much practice either, and some newbies in that race. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, we always know what happens at newbies on super speedways. So
yes.
We end up with 3 cars finishing the race. So we will see you guys Thursday on Motorsports Madness. And as I said, Nick DeGroot's on next week here on the show. So for Tom Baker, I'm Miller. You guys have a safe rest of your week. Oh, we're going to keep going now. Oh, look, we get extra time. I don't know what's...
Hey, okay.
Oh, we have 30 more seconds. Okay, cool. Anyway, so I don't know.
Tune in to Talladega this weekend.
Yes.
And don't forget to watch the ARCA race. But, hey, there's some good local short track racing in the Carolinas going on as well. If you're local here or anywhere where there's local racing in your area, go support the tracks. They need your help.
Yep, stay safe, be careful, and enjoy your race week. We'll see you guys next Tuesday on the Inside Pass.
Bye.